I have been doing my best to take care of my mother for 5 years. Tears welled up in the audience, and my husband was also shedding tears. Despite his facade of a good son, he had never done anything until now. I'm the only one who knows the truth. My husband, you'd better realize it now. To expose my husband's true character, I played the recording I had prepared. I am Nancy. It has been 7 years since I got married to my husband, Joseph. We live with my bedridden mother-in-law. My mother-in-law fell ill and has been bedridden needing care for the past 5 years. My father-in-law passed away before we got married, so I am the only one to take care of my mother-in-law. Around the same time, my husband's work came to a standstill, and we were struggling with our daily lives. Out of financial hardship, my husband asked his mother if we could live with her, and she gladly accepted. Feeling bad to only rely on my husband's family, I decided to do part-time work and take care of my mother-in-law at the same time. However, I felt that my mother-in-law was hesitant to get a care from me. I have been taken care of enough. Nancy, don't worry about me. Seeing my mother-in-law always smiling but with a troubled look on her face, I found myself encouraging her instead. I'm the one who's always been taken care of by you, Mother. Please don't say such things. Nancy, you're working and doing housework, and also taking care of me. I feel so sorry for adding more burden. Not at all. I do this because I want to. I want to be by your side, Mother. But by doing so, won't I deprive you of your happiness? No way. My happiness is being able to talk with you every day, Mother. Upon hearing my words, my mother-in-law teared up and whispered a quiet, "Thank you." What I can do is only a small part of it all. However, my mother-in-law always conveys her feelings of gratitude to me, even for the smallest things. Since I became part of the family, my mother-in-law has always been considerate of me, so I don't feel burdened at all, even now that she needs care. On the contrary, I feel a sense of duty to repay her kindness and care as much as I can. Although caregiving was an everyday task, I felt fulfilled. There was only one thing I was dissatisfied with. The source of my dissatisfaction was my husband, Joseph. Joseph believes that household matters are woman's work and can be quite a chauvinist. It didn't bother me much when we were newlyweds, but since we started living with my mother-in-law, his arrogant words and actions, which were hidden until now, became more noticeable. Despite hardly contributing to the household expenses, his arrogance is as immovable as a massive rock mountain. One such behavior is that he would start yelling loudly if I didn't welcome him at the door when he came home. "Hey, your master has returned. Hurry up and come to pick up my bags." "Yes, welcome home." I frowned at my arrogant husband's attitude and voiced my opinion. "I've told you many times I'm not your maid, Joseph. You should do what you can do for yourself." "Oh, really? Who do you think is making it possible for us to maintain this lifestyle?" "While we are able to live thanks to you, Joseph, I also do what's necessary." "What? All you do is talk to my mom and tidy up the house a bit, right?" "That's despite me working part-time, you talk to me like that?" "You're noisy. You, who can't even earn a decent living, don't act like you're equal and cross me." "Even you, Joseph, you're not even putting in the money for living expenses properly. Isn't it because of mother-in-law that we can live here?" At first, when we started to fight, I would fight back without losing, but Joseph started to hint at divorce. "If you keep on saying such pointless things, we'll divorce, do you understand?" "Please, your mother is in the room. Don't speak so loudly." "Shut up. It's all because you always have the audacity to say such things. Who do you think will suffer if we divorce? It's you, isn't it? I got it, so please speak a bit quieter. And to talk about divorce so lightly. Right. You have nowhere to go if we divorce. Moreover, there's no company that would hire someone as useless as you for a full-time job. That's awful. Don't say things like that. You just need to listen to what I say silently. You idiot. Don't bother me all the time. My desire to divorce Joseph, my husband, had reached its limit. I want to divorce him right away, but I'm worried about my mother-in-law. And so, I hesitate. Nancy, you're like a dear daughter to me. If you have any problems, don't hesitate to talk to me. My mother-in-law always treated me with kind words, just like a real mother and daughter. Because she's so kind, I wanted to provide her with the best care possible with no regrets. I wanted to repay her for her care, with gratitude beyond what I can express. Despite feeling the pain of my husband's arrogance, I continued to endure living in his family home precisely because of these thoughts. I thought I should not leave the care of my mother-in-law to such an arrogant man. One day, while I was living with these thoughts, it happened. During dinner preparation, the usual loud shouting echoed from the entrance. Hey, I'm home now. What about my welcome, Nancy? I'm preparing dinner now and I'm frying something. I can't leave the stove. What? What are you talking about? The husband is the priority, right? What kind of a wife is that? With loud footsteps, the impatient husband entered the room. Hey, what about my welcome? Why don't you understand what I always say? What are you thinking about? Can't you see? I'm preparing dinner now and frying something, and it's dangerous with the oil. I don't care about that. You should have it ready by the time I get home. You're useless. You're the one who never tells me when you'll be home. Even so, to say that to me. What? Don't you understand when I say don't talk back? A useless wife with an insolent attitude is just garbage. At my husband's harsh words, my mother-in-law spoke out in a stern tone. Joseph, isn't that too much no matter what? Huh, Mom? You're still here? Nancy is working and also doing the housework and caregiving in this house, isn't she? She's working hard for you and me, isn't she? Isn't that obvious? She's my wife. Even if she's working, she doesn't make much money and her housework is insufficient and incomplete. She's on the same level as garbage in general. That's enough, no matter what. My usually quiet and gentle mother-in-law raised her voice in anger after hearing Joseph's words. I don't mind what you say about me, but stop saying such horrible things about Nancy. Shut up. Why? Are you too, Mom? Are you on Nancy's side, covering each other because you're similar? My mother-in-law is usually quiet and doesn't speak much, but unusually she continues to express her opinion. Joseph, there's one thing I've been wanting to ask you. Huh? What are you talking about? I can't trouble Nancy anymore. Please put me in some kind of place. A place? Do you know how much that costs? We don't have that kind of money. There's your father's inheritance and my pension. It doesn't have to be anywhere expensive. I was so surprised by my mother-in-law's unexpected statement that I couldn't say anything. She was considering all that for me, my mother-in-law, caring for me. I could feel the warmth in her words, and my eyes started to heat up. However, my husband, the one who matters most, had almost no understanding of the situation. At the rare request of my mother-in-law, my husband showed a visibly displeased face. Don't mess with me. It's not that easy to get into somewhere like a nursing home. It's a waste of money. If I'm gone, life in this house will be easier. If my company or neighbor finds out, they'll definitely start gossiping that I'm a cold-hearted son, right? I don't want to cause any more trouble for you two. I don't care what people think. Isn't it enough that I'm taking care of you? You should just shut up and listen to what I say. Are you doing anything for me? You haven't done a single thing for me, have you? Huh? I'm doing way enough. I've got Nancy doing all the work. And letting you live in the house, right? Ungrateful, aren't you? Unable to bear his nonsensical statements, I instinctively retaliated. Who's the ungrateful one here? Isn't this house my mother-in-law's house? What are you saying? Huh? Are you getting smart with me, Nancy? Of course I am. When you lost your job 5 years ago and we were struggling, my mother-in-law kindly let us live here. We're the one being helped, so how can you be so arrogant? Everyone's just nagging, so noisy. I want to take care of my mother-in-law on my own. I've never found it bothersome. Don't just assume and spout nonsense. I tried my best to make Joseph understand. But he said, it's such a bother, and disappeared from sight. In the silent room, my mother-in-law kept repeating, I'm sorry, Nancy, while crying. Joseph is the one at fault, not you, Mother. And so I continued to live with this uneasy feeling about my life that I couldn't change. A few days later, an unknown man came to the house claiming to be a friend of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, although surprised, greeted the man with a warm smile. Noah, isn't that you? Noah? Thank you. You came all this way. Well, when my senior asked me to come to visit, how could I refuse? We were young back then, and I did train you a lot of work, didn't I? Yes, I'm grateful for those times. By the way, why did you call me here today? Is something wrong? Right. The reason I asked you to come today is... Then my mother-in-law looked at me. Nancy, I'm sorry. Could you leave us alone for a bit? She said apologetically. Thinking that she must have a lot to talk about with him since they haven't seen each other for a while, I agreed immediately and went out shopping to give them some space. The man named Noah seemed to be a junior colleague from the time my mother-in-law was still working. It had been a long time since I saw her talking so happily with such a warm smile. When I returned home after shopping and killing some time, the man named Noah was about to leave. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm making tea right now. No, we're done talking. Don't worry about it. But, you came all this way. Thank you for taking care of her. She's my benefactor. So I'm relieved that you, like a daughter to her, are working so hard for her. With that, he bowed his head and left. From then on, Noah came regularly to visit my mother-in-law. Their conversations were lively, and I could hear my mother-in-law's cheerful voice. A few months later, my mother-in-law's health took a turn for the worse, and she was suddenly hospitalized. I panicked and called my husband, but he said something outrageous. My mom's condition is critical? I don't care about that. You're there, so just keep her company, okay? What are you talking about? The doctors are saying we don't know when her condition might worsen, so come to the hospital. That's impossible on such short notice. I'm going on a business trip from today, so it's impossible. What? At a time like this? This is a serious matter, so please go to your company and ask them to cancel your business trip. Are you insane? I can't just do that on short notice. This is none of my business, so handle it on your own. Listen, don't contact me until I call you. With that, He hung up the phone forcefully. I didn't know how to react to this exchange, and I collapsed in front of the hospital room. He's going on a business trip while his mother's condition is critical? He's done a lot of horrible things, but this is too much. How am I supposed to tell this to my mother-in-law? While I was confused and troubled, Noah appeared before me. What's wrong, Nancy? What are you doing here? Noah! What happened? Let's go to her room first, okay? Yes, that's right. As Noah and I entered the hospital room, my mother-in-law began to speak, struggling through her discomfort. Noah, thank you. You came here, so you must have done what I asked, right? It's okay, but are you really sure about this? Of course, it's fine. I need to clarify things before I die and get rid of this uneasiness. I see, I understand. And then my mother-in-law, despite her painful condition, moved and held my hand. Nancy, there's something I want to tell you. Huh? What is it? It seems like my son is having an affair. He has been secretly withdrawing money from my bank account and squandering it. Huh? He having an affair? Indeed, he's a despicable man who has treated me like a housemaid. I could have assumed some problem if it's an affair. Not only that, but he has been playing around, relying on my mother-in-law's precious pension. I had Noah investigate various things about this incident. I see, that's why my mother-in-law called Noah to the house at that time. Noah, from now on, record everything I say properly. This is my final request. I understand. Slowly, Noah took out a voice recorder from his pocket and prepared it. That way, Noah finished recording all of my mother-in-law's words and placed the voice recorder in the palm of my hand. It's up to you, Nancy, how you want to utilize this recorded audio. The way you use it is up to you. So, it's up to me. Indeed, I am the only one who can fulfill my mother-in-law's regrets and seek revenge. I tightly held my mother-in-law's weakening hand, determined. The next day, my mother-in-law finally departed for heaven. She entrusted me with the accumulated revenge against my husband. 2 days later, on the day of the funeral, many people attended the funeral. I could imagine that my mother-in-law had a significant influence on people from a long time ago. In the presence of many people who came to pay their respects, my husband said something unbelievable. I can't believe so many people showed up. It's quite a demonstration of the skill of the chief mourner, isn't it? Huh? What are you saying? You didn't even bother to come when your own mother was on her deathbed. Despite the criticism and sarcasm directed towards my husband, he continued talking leisurely, unconcerned. With the moving and tearful eulogy as the chief mourner, I'll make everyone here shed tears that won't stop. Important people from the company are also present. It could leave a good impression and lead to promotion at work. How can you be so self-centered even when your own mother has passed away? Think about it. Now that mom is gone, I'll inherit all of dad's inheritance. It's an incredibly lucky situation. It's just too fortunate. Fueled by anger from his such selfish words, I trembled, but my husband cheerfully went up to the front to deliver his eulogy. At first, I went through the greetings as a formality, and then it transitioned into talking about my mother-in-law's care. At that moment, my husband, with tears in his eyes, delivered a speech with unbelievable words. I have devoted myself to caregiving for 5 years and done my best. Unfortunately, my mother has passed away, leaving me with emptiness. However, I have no regrets. On the contrary, I am proud that I was able to support her by her side until this day. As I listened to my husband's dignified eulogy, the sound of sobbing started to fill the venue. My husband seemed pleased with the reactions and started to embellish his performance, becoming more and more talkative. It was as if he had been diligently and selflessly caring for his mother every day. The attendees who didn't know the truth listened to his story with tears in their eyes, without doubting a thing. Thank you all very much for today. As his endless speech concluded, I stood up. Amidst the murmur of confusion in the venue, I confronted my husband and presented the voice recorder in front of him. What the hell are you doing? Ignoring my husband's attempt to interrupt, I called out to the attendees in a loud voice. Everyone, one more thing. Please listen to this recording that I'm going to play now. I pressed the play button. It started playing the voice of my late mother-in-law. It was a recording made in her hospital room while she was still alive. To all attendees, thank you very much for coming today despite your busy schedules. Before the end, there is something I desperately want to tell all of you, so I recorded my voice. Unexpectedly, both my husband and the attendees in the venue were surprised and focused on my mother-in-law's voice. Just now, you all probably heard my son's speech, where he was likely talking about what a wonderful son he is. Indeed, it was a great speech from my mother-in-law. She knew her son's character well. She accurately guessed her son's expected behavior from a parent's perspective. To make sure everyone in the venue could hear, I raised the volume even further. The real son of mine never tried to care for me. Instead, he selfishly yelled and berated me and his wife Nancy. I have proper audio evidence for him raising his voice at us. What? Stop it already. Cut it out. My husband's face turned red, and he yelled in excitement. Ignoring him completely, I continued playing the recording. Furthermore, he secretly withdrew money from my bank account, the pension funds, and spent it on another woman, not Nancy. When I sensed something was off about my son, I asked an old friend for help, and that's how these facts were found out. The attendees who had sympathized with my husband until now suddenly turned angry, and his face grew paler and paler. Finally, my mother-in-law delivered the final blow to my husband from heaven. I kindly ask all of you not to hand over my inheritance to my son. Whether it's being voided or donated, anything is fine. I won't forgive a son like him. I need your cooperation. Thank you in advance. With those words as her final request, the audio recording came to an end. My husband was in disarray after listening to the audio, but there was no one extending a helping hand anymore. On the contrary, all the attendees were giving my husband cold stares. I looked down on my defeated husband and spoke to him in a cold, disdainful manner, just as he had done to us all along. You see? Have you finally realized? This is the result of everything you've done to us. Running away from caring for your mother, indulging in affairs. It's no wonder things turned out like this. Do you understand now? Nancy, please wait. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Don't tell me you're expecting me to help you. How foolish. Huh? Let me make it clear up front. I have no intention of ever forgiving you. You tormented your own mother and you treated us so terribly. Now there's no one left to help you. Suffer and rot in hell. My husband collapsed to the ground, pale and devoid of strength. The cold stares from the attendees were painful to witness. Afterward, I proceeded to divorce my husband. Now that my mother-in-law had passed away, there was no point in staying with him. Rumor has it that he got fired from his job. Considering his superiors were also present at the funeral, it was an expected outcome. And so I filed for compensation from my ex-husband and his affair partner. In response to the situation, the affair partner seems to be furious and promptly dumped him. A few months later, with Noah's introduction, my ex-husband found a new job. In fact, it was part of the plan that my mother-in-law had devised. To ensure that alimony was paid, she arranged for my ex-husband to work at an acquaintance workplace through Noah. Thanks to that, the alimony payments continue without delay. As for me, my mother-in-law left me some money, so I started living on my own with that. Noah also worried about me and introduced me to a job where I was able to secure a regular position. I heard that was also part of my mother-in-law's will. I was indebted to my mother-in-law for everything until the very end. And so, as I prayed in front of my mother-in-law's grave, I expressed my gratitude in my heart. Thank you so much. Despite the hardships, I vowed in my heart to cherish the new life I was able to obtain thanks to my mother-in-law and live it to the fullest.